Hello, my name is Khoi D, and I'm an associate professor of neurosurgery at Duke University. I'd like to thank the North American Spine Society for inviting me to share my thoughts on how to find a job after training. These are my disclosures. First, I thought it might be helpful to share my story. I went to college and medical school at Johns Hopkins, followed by residency in neurosurgery at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. After that, I did a spine fellowship at the University of California, San Francisco. My first job out of training was at the Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, Oregon, where I spent 4 years. For the past year or so, I've been at Duke in North Carolina. When looking for a job, there are many different things to consider. Some of those things are listed on this slide in no particular order of importance. One thing to consider is the location of the job. Do you want to be close to home? Do you want to be far away from home? Is there a particular region of the country that calls to you? Definitely think about the weather. Definitely take into consideration what your significant other wants and where your families are located. Think about whether you want to be in a big city or in a more rural area. It's also important to consider how you're getting paid. Chances are this is the first time that you're going to make a sizable income. There are a great variety of different pay structures out there. Some practices may try to lure you with high starting salaries, but for these positions you'll want to clarify how you'll get paid after your guarantee period. Some places are purely eat what you kill. And some places, such as my first job, are structured such that the more you work, the less of that money you actually get to keep. If you're looking at academic positions, some places may compensate you for academic productivity in addition to clinical productivity. You also want to take a close look at who your partners are. It's very important that you enjoy the people who you work with. You'll want to make sure, especially early in practice, that you have the appropriate mentorship and people to call on for advice in difficult situations. You'll want to understand the turnover of a given practice and seek out people who have left to understand why they have left. Also important are practice considerations. Will you have a general spine practice, or will you be expected to focus on a particular subspecialty within spine surgery? Will you be focused at one hospital, or will you be expected to cover several sites? These things are important to consider as you assess different positions. Chances are good that you'll have an understanding as to whether you are more interested in academic versus private positions. And like I said, definitely take into account what your significant other wants. There are many different resources out there to understand what job openings might be available. The North American Spine Society has a very robust Career Center page with many job listings that you should check out. The NASS and the AAOS have similar postings. It also doesn't hurt to cold call places or practices that you've heard of that you feel might be a good fit. Oftentimes, places will create a position for the right candidate. Other places to look for jobs include the back of journals, where job listings tend to be located. There are a variety of different recruiting services that have a good understanding of practices that are in search of surgeons. One thing that's also very helpful is it's just word of mouth as well. Here is the website for the NASS job listings. This is some general advice based on my job searches. For academics, I would recommend starting to look about 1 year before you're actually ready to work. I started a bit earlier than that and found that most places were not really sure of what their needs would be beyond 1 year. I think if you're looking for private practice jobs, it's okay to look slightly longer than 1 year before you're ready to work. Importantly, it's very good to have a very broad search. When I started my first job search, I had a list of about 10 places where I thought I would want to work. I contacted those 10 places and only heard back from 2. I quickly expanded my own search to about 25 or 30 places and was very glad that I did. Interviewing at several different places allowed me to get a feel for different areas of the country, different practice types. Having a few different offers also helps with the negotiation process, and I found that many places are willing to negotiate if there is a mutual fit. Like I alluded to, the most common response is no response. So be prepared for that as you start your job search. I had a lot of questions for my first job search as to the best way to contact different places. I got a variety of responses, including email, snail mail, a combination of the two. Someone even told me to send a binder filled with all of my publications. Ultimately, I heard from a reputable source that the best way to go about this is just to contact the department chairman, as well as possibly the division head, and attach a copy of your curriculum vitae. Generally, a short and sweet email is all that you need. I found that the interview process is actually really low-key. I don't recall getting asked any challenging questions, really. It is, however, a great time for you to ask about the things that are important to you. Get a feel for the location, especially if you've never lived there before. Come your second interview at a given place, that it would be a good time to start asking about the pay structure. You'll want to spend a lot of time with your potential partners and get a really good understanding for what your practice will be like. It's important to remember through all this that I don't think that there is a perfect job. My first job was great in many ways, especially because it was in my hometown, and after 16 years away from my family, I got to be closer to home. However, I didn't find it fulfilling in other ways, and so was very lucky to get the job at Duke. Duke's been a great job from a job perspective, but it's far from home. The Southeast is also very different from the West Coast. It's important to remember this as you go through your job search and start your career, that there is no perfect job, but you have to prioritize the things that are of importance to you and then find the job that is the best fit. You're welcome to reach out to me at any point in time.